So I'm going to give about real numbers. Already integers we have discussed in the last class. Real numbers are in normally computers when they are represented, they are called as floating point numbers because the position of decimal point will be keep on changing, floating, and that's why they are called as floating point numbers. So they are, if the number is not whole number, then it's a real number. So it will have a decimal part. So if the number has decimal part along with integer part, it's called as a real number. But in computer terms, it is called as floating point number because the position of decimal point is keep on changing. In C language, there are three keywords to represent the real numbers, or you can say there are three types of real numbers present based on the size and precision. They are divided into three types. What precision, when you take, it is actually the number of decimal digit accuracy is actually gives the precision. So when you take these three types of real numbers that are there, float, double, and long double. So there are three types of real numbers present in C. So when you take this size of float is 4 bytes. Uh, then the size of double is 8 bytes, and the size of long double is 10 bytes, and in some cases it is 16 bytes. Suppose if you are going for DOS based C, it is 10 bytes. Now I think in some systems it is bytes. It is also platform dependent. So when you take the range, see the integers are represented in a different way and real numbers are represented in a different way. The representation of real numbers we are not going to discuss here. Suppose if you have come across digital logic design or computer organization, you might have already come across the way the floating point numbers are represented. But it does not matter even if you don't know the way of representing the floating point numbers. It does not matter. You can understand this and you can use this floating point numbers. If you are interested, you can search for the way of representing the floating point numbers and you can learn it. But for C language, how it is represented, it does not matter. But what are the different types of real numbers and what is the size and what is the range is the important thing or the thing which we need to know. Now, when you take the floating point numbers, the range is 1.2 into 10 power 38 minus 38 to 3.4 into 10 power 30. This range of positive numbers. Similarly, the range of negative numbers also same thing, minimum and maximum. So minus 3.4 into 10 power 30 is the range of floating point numbers, positive range and negative range it is given. Then similarly, when you take double, it is 2.27 into 10 power minus 308 to 1.7 into 10 power 308. This is positive range. Now, when you take negative range minus 2.27 into 10 power minus 308, which is minimum negative number to maximum negative number is 1.7 uh, minus 1.7 into 10 power 308. This is the range of double. We'll see later when we write the program, we can get these numbers. You need not remember this, but just I'm giving. We'll also see how to get these constants through program. You can also get the constants of integers. You can also get the constants of, the ranges of integers, ranges of double numbers. We'll see that later. Just observe this. These are the different ranges. So based on your requirement, suppose if you are going for very huge number, you can go for long double. You are going for a number in this range. You are going for a number in this range. You can go for floating point number. Just to know what type gives what range, and later you can use that based on your requirement. You can use that type. So if you are aware of these ranges, it is better. So if you take very huge numbers, uh, uh, which is actually when you take 10 bytes number, so it is 3.4 into 10 power 4938. Up to this number you can represent in C language 49 32 up to 4932. You can go
Sir,
minus 4932. Yes, tell me.
sir, many members are in lobbies.
Okay. So it is 3.4 into 10 power 4932. Up to this you can have positive range, then negative range minus 3.4 into 10 power minus 49322 minus 3. These are the ranges of real numbers. So there are three types of real numbers. Float is smallest precision real number, and double is much larger, and long double is much larger. So when you take these are the
Sir,
ranges you should be knowing. Yes.
sir, someone in lobby, sir. Please accept
No,
them.
I have admitted all. I have admitted all.
Sir,
I
but
think.
they
Maybe
texting.
they might have used wrong link. So here there is nobody, because it will be I can see them if they are in lobby. Now I'm not finding. Now one person came. Okay, I'm allowing. You tell me if somebody is waiting. You tell me, because I'll be off that screen. So I'm allowing.
Yes, yes, sir. I will send them.
Okay. Okay, these are the real numbers and their ranges. So this is one thing you should be knowing. So real numbers. I'll give you a program later. Once we start writing the programs, I'll give you program how to get this ranges later in some programs. So these are the real numbers. Now there is one more data type you can find, which is Boolean data type. In fact, um, when you take Boolean data type is also represented with integer. So normally when you take Boolean data type, it is the values it takes is true and false. But in older versions of C, there is no separate Boolean data type. The integer itself is represented. Integer itself is used to represent Boolean data type. Even later, there is a bool keyword added to represent the Boolean data type, but still it is integer. Still, Boolean data type is integer in C. In other languages, it may not be integer, but in C language, bool data type is integer itself. So, bool data type, there are two values taken. Normal cases, when I take true is 1, false is 0. But in C language, when you take false is 0, but true is any value other than 0 is true. So this is very important point to note. So not just 1 is true, any value other than 0 is true. Suppose if I take 100, it is true, minus 250, it is true, minus 1000, it is true, 50, it is true, any value other than 0 is true, only 0 is false. This is one very important point to note, because some concept, some logics depends on this. So don't think that only one is true, or true is of course represented with one, false is represented with 0. But when I take this C language, only 0 is used to represent false, but any value other than 0 is used to represent true. So this is one point to note. You have to be careful. So that is about the Boolean data type. Is it clear, the Boolean data type? Okay, before we see strings, strings is different data type. We have also learned about the character data type, but uh, character data type we have already seen. But I told you that character data type is integer only. So we'll see that the string data type little later, but we'll see the variables before we proceed. We'll see the variables. Now, when you take, I told you, when you take a program takes already in some classes. I told you that program takes some data, it gives some data. This one definition of program. So program takes some input, gives some output. What it does is it will take the input, it process the output, process the input and gives the output. So it takes the input and it does some processing, manipulation. It does some manipulation and it gives the output. Suppose if your program is finding square of the number, so it takes input as uh, 5 and the processing it does is this kind of processing it does is square, the output it gives is 25. So generally any program if you take, irrespective of the purpose what you are using, it takes some data, apply some processing, apply some manipulation, it gives some data. It takes some input, do some processing, gives output. That is what the program. So while the data is the input, while the input data is processed and output is generated, it will be stored in memory. It will be stored in memory as variables. So when you take any program, will have a data. So the program will have a data. The program will have a data and it will be stored in memory. So memory is an important thing in programming or in computer, where the data is stored during the execution of the program. During the execution of the program, the data is stored. So when you take the data, suppose if I want to take, I want to find square of the number. So if I take 5, 5 will be stored in memory. Now when it is stored in memory, I should give name to that value, and that name I'll give it as something like num. This num is called as variable, or it can be called as identifier to that value. It is a variable. Why it is called as variable is during the course of the execution of the program, the value may change. The value may change. It is not necessary that it has to change. It may change. There is one more thing which is something complement to variable or opposite to variable is a constant. Constant is again a value which will remain same during the course of the execution of the program. We'll be seeing first variables, later I will come to constants, but variable is a value which will have some name. When you give name to the value, it will be called as identifier, or it will also be called as variable. And that name I am giving it as num here. So because I am taking some number, I am giving some name here, num, and it is actually a variable or identifier that will be that may change during the course of it. So that's why it is variable or identifier. So variables are very common part of the program to hold the data during the execution of the program. Constants are also there. Constant is the one which will remain same during the entire course of the program. Once you fix the value, it will be staying with that value during the entire course of the program. So that is the constant and variable. I'll give much about constants little later. Now we are discussing about the variables. Now, when you take these variables, we are giving name to the variables. So the naming, there is something very important here, naming of variables. So when you take the naming of the variables, there are some constraints, means there are some rules. There are some rules in naming of the variables, and there are some conventions. So conventions we have to, when you take the names of the variables, there are rules, there are conventions. Rules are must to follow, and conventions are better to follow. It is not must, but if you follow, it is good. Better to follow, but it is not compulsory. Not compulsory. If you, even if you don't follow, there is no problem. But if you follow, you are considered to be a good programmer. Or otherwise, you are not considered to be a good programmer. But it is not compulsory to follow. Why it is not compulsory, I'll give you a little later. When you take the rules, naming rules, so the first rule is name of a variable must not be name of variable must not be a keyword. So what is a keyword? I gave you about the keyword. Keyword is the reserved word. It has some predefined meaning or purpose. We should use it only for that purpose. So if I take the keyword we have already used, int, I should use it to declare integer. I cannot use it for naming the variable. So there are nearly 30, there are 32 keywords in C. So all the keywords are reserved and they must be used for intended purpose. So int is a keyword. Suppose if you take static is a keyword, auto is a keyword, float is a keyword, if is a keyword, while is a keyword. So I'll give you the list of keywords we can search, and we can search in the net and we can get the keywords. So there are 32 keywords. So when I'm giving name to the keyword, I should not choose keyword. When I'm giving name to the variable, it must not be a keyword, because keyword has already some purpose. I cannot change the purpose. So as I told you in the definition of keyword, keyword is a reserved for something, reserved with some purpose. I must use it only for that reserved purpose, not for any other purpose. So the first rule for naming the variables is name must not be a keyword. So when I am naming here, so I have a variable 5. I'm giving num here. Suppose if I try to give some name like auto, it is not allowed because auto is a keyword. So I cannot use auto, which is a keyword, for naming the variables. So the first thing is the name must not be a keyword. The second rule is name must not have any special character except underscore. So no special character except underscore. Underscore. No special character can be part of the name. Can be part of the name. So when I take the special, there are characters. I told you the characters are divided into three types. One is alphabet. So alphabet can be part of the name. So it can be part of the name. Then the digits can be part of the name. This is also okay. So digit can be part of the name, but not the special character. So special characters. So special character. So special character means plus, minus, asterisk, comma, colon, semicolon. These are all special characters, except underscore. So except underscore. So underscore, no other special character can be part of the name. So this is not allowed. So you should not get confused. There is minus symbol, which is also called as hyphen, cannot be part of the name. So underscore can be part of the name. So there are two. One is here, one is at the bottom. When you type, it will come at the bottom. One comes in the middle. This is not allowed. This is allowed. So the one which comes under bottom is underscore. It is allowed. The one which is normally we call it as minus, and it is also called as hyphen. When you type it, it comes somewhere in the middle of the space allotted for it, and it is not allowed. So no special character, not even hyphen is part of the name. Only underscore can be part of the name. That is one more important names rules. Then the third rule is name cannot start. Name must start name cannot start with digit. Cannot start with digit. So this is also a rule. Name cannot must not start with a digit. So instead of can, a must not start with digit. So these are the rules that you need to follow. So for example, suppose if I take num 1, it is okay. It is perfectly okay. So if I take there is max underscore num, this is perfectly okay. Max hyphen num is not okay. Hyphen is not allowed. Suppose I can say, suppose if I take one A, B, C is not allowed because one I cannot start the name with a digit. So I can say, suppose num 1, 2, 3. So I can use the combination like this. But suppose if I take something like, uh, suppose if I take one name, there is no global. Suppose if I take, there is one name register, which is a keyword, not allowed because register is a keyword. So, so while you give the names to the variables, you must strictly follow this. The name must not be a keyword, and name must not have any special character except underscore, and name must not. So this is these are the rules follow, and generally the mistake people do is in the beginning, at least in the beginning of their programming, they give space as part of the name, which is strictly not allowed. Whatever may be the name, variable name, function name, space not be used. So suppose if I want to give a name max num, suppose if I write like this, max num, there is a space, space is a special character, it is not allowed. Usually the beginners of the the programming, they normally try to, they have they have intention, they have something towards space while naming, so it's not correct. So name must not have a space because space is a special character. Beginners, they do this mistake. So don't never ever give space as part of the name in program. Are the names, the rules of the names. Then I'll give you the conventions. Conventions are not necessary to follow, but it is follow. It is always better to follow conventions. It is not compulsory to follow the convention. Uh, so the first convention is name is meaning. Name should be meaningful. Should be meaningful or purpose. Now, suppose if I'm giving some m 25. Suppose if I give m equals to 25, I'm giving name m and giving value 25 there. Now, if I ask you what is m, it may not be possible for you to give the purpose of m. So I'm using a variable m and storing some value. Suppose this is okay, perfectly okay name as far as the rule is concerned, but it should be meaningful. Instead of m, suppose if I give marks, then this is meaningful. So I can use m, I can use x, y, z, a, b, c, but I can use any name, shortcut names, but if whatever name you give, if it is reflecting the purpose, or it is giving some meaning to the data, then it is always better. So m equals to 25, I'm giving 25 marks, 25 marks storing in a variable m. Later, when I go through the program, I may not be knowing what is that M. But suppose if I give the name, meaningful name or purposeful name like marks, so I can always know that marks is storing the marks in some subject. So the name must be meaningful. That is one convention. Irrespective of the language, if you follow that, it is better. Name must be meaningful. So then a name should be precise. Don't give very lengthy names. Don't give very shortcut names. It is better if you give precise name. So you need not give maximum. For example, suppose maximum number underscore number. You need not give. Then I can say max num. If I give like this, so I'll know the meaning or purpose. So name should be name precise. So it precisely indicating the meaning or purpose. You need not have very elaborative name. So that is one more convention you have to follow. Now, one more convention is when you have a multiple words in name like max num, better you separate it with underscore or every new word you start it with a capital letter. That is also one convention. So multiple suppose if there are multiple words in name, multiple words in name, suppose like max num. So instead of writing max num, so it is not easy to read. So multiple words if you have in name, separate them with underscore or is allowed. This is the old convention. It is also okay. I can go for it. Or what you do is every new word started with the uppercase letter. So this is also another convention you can follow. So this is all considered to be good habits in programming. So I can use this or I can say max num. So when I separate it with, when I use uppercase letter with a very new word, uh, I can easily read it. That is the purpose. So readability of the program is also very important. So when you have multiple words in name, then better you separate it with either underscore or every new word started with the uppercase letter. Start the first word you started with the lowercase because generally um, C is cane sensitive and all normally the variables they start with the lowercase. So started with lowercase, every new word you keep it, you make it uppercase or you keep maintain all lowercase and the words you separated with with under. This is another convention. I'm repeatedly telling you, convention need not be followed. It is not compulsory to follow, but if you follow, you are considered to be a good programmer, or following convention is considered to be a good habit of programming. Then one more convention is constants. I told you I'll give you about the constants little later. So when you take the constant, um, the constant should be given all upper. The name to the constant should be in all uppercase. Constant should be in all uppercase. Be, all uppercase letters. All uppercase letters. Suppose if I want to have a constant like pi, so better you write pi as uppercase. As soon as I see that name, I can know that it is a constant, not a variable. So if I use pi, it's also okay. But as soon as I see, I cannot identify that it's a constant. So generally, if you follow these conventions, it is easy for anybody to read your program. Suppose if I want something like max size as constant, I can give something like all uppercase letters. So one more convention here is the constant names should be with all. Are the conventions? Uh, Even if I take a constant, if I write max size, there is no problem. But better you follow this convention. So this is what the naming of variables and conventions. So that is about rules and conventions of the uh, variables. So when you take, I told you the program takes some input, gives some output. So several variables, whatever variable you mention, they will be there in memory. So one important thing to note in C language is every variable, every variable must be declared. Must be declared. So this is one important point to note. So this is not necessarily true in all languages. For example, Python language, we need not declare the variable. But if you take the languages like C, C++, Java, most of the languages, they insist you to declare the variable. So in C, it is must to declare the variables. So when we take this variable declaration, so it is actually represented with some statement. So some statement is used to declare variables, and every statement has a syntax. So the syntax of declaration. So here I am giving the declaration of variables. What happens in the declaration? I'll give you declaration of variables. So when I take the declaration of the variable, so first for any statement, we see we have to know the syntax. Syntax is again the rule to follow. So uh, you have to use the syntax is keyword related with the type, keyword related with type. You have to first give, then name of the variable, name variable names of variables. List of variables, and at the end you must give semicolon. So this is the syntax. So use the keyword. For example, if I take I want to declare a variable integer, so I use the keyword int. So int is the keyword related with the type. So I want list of variables. I want 3 variables A, B, C. So this says the list of variables must be separated with comma. At the end, there must be a semicolon. So I am declaring 3 variables. I can also declare one variable like float x. Here I am giving shortcut names, but when you write the program, better you follow the convention. So here I am declaring a variable x, which is float. So while you declare the variable, the type is very important because the type decides how many bytes the variable occupies. So I may take character C1, C2, like that I can declare. So later again I may declare use int. This is how I declare the, we need to declare the variable. So when you declare the variables, you must specify the type. So when I specify the type, so as soon as I declare the variables, what happens is, because a is integer, so a is integer. What is this size of the integer? Size of the I told you every variable takes memory. So if I take the memory here, I'm just giving the. So what actually happens is a will take 4 locations. So A will get 4 A. Then similarly B will get some memory. C will get some memory. Then X will get some memory based on. So as soon as I declare a variable, memory is given to it, and based on the type. So this is 4 bytes. This is again 4 bytes. This is 4 bytes. X is float is 4 bytes. Then C1, when I take the next one, because C1 is a character, character is 1 byte. So C1 it takes one byte. So the type decides how many bytes the variable occupies. Again, num, if you take, it takes 4 bytes. So this is how roughly, it is not necessary that the order is same. It may adopt a different strategy that will not bother here. So the declaration of what declaration does is, it will allot memory to the variable. It will give some space to the variable in memory, and that space will be given some name. So when I say int a, 4 bytes are allotted to a, and that area is named as, so this area is named as, this 4 bytes is named as a. It is named as a. This is actually the declaration of variable. So every variable, whatever you use, must be declared. So that is one very important thing in C language. The variables must be declared, and that too, uh, they must be declared in the beginning of the block. Or what is block, I'll not give later. So just remember that variables in C uh, be declared the beginning of block. So block, what is this block? It can be a function. Don't worry if you don't know function, loop, or it may be anything. So just remember that variables must be declared in the beginning. So all you have to do in the beginning, not somewhere in the middle. So what is that block? I'll give, you will get clarity later. So just remember that every variable must be declared, and that too, they must be declared in the beginning. You may combine the variables with same type at one place, or you may declare them separately. It is up to you. But all variables which are related, you can declare at one place. Then some other variable, maybe type same, you declare later. So it is up to you. But uh, that's how we declare the variables. So about the declaration of the variable. So the declaration of the variable, what it gives is, it allots some space to the variable based on its type. So suppose if I take double some variable, double y, if I declare, it allots 8 bytes, because double takes 8 bytes. So the one purpose of declaration is to know how many bytes the variable is going to occupy. So that depends upon the type. So you must mention the type of the variable in the declaration. As soon as you declare a variable, memory of certain bytes based on the type will be allotted, and that entire memory area we can refer later, use it with a given name. So that is purpose of the declaration of the variable. So that is so the declaration must be done. That is one thing. Without declaration, you cannot use the variable. If you try to use it, it will give error. Second thing is, all the variables must be declared in the beginning of the block. So that is one thing related. Then next thing we should know is initialization. So normally when I declare a variable like this, what value I get, I'm not sure. And if I'm not sure the value what I get, it is called as garbage. Garbage or unknown. So if the value is not known, we call it as unknown or garbage. So when I simply declare the variable later, if I don't give any value, if I don't give the value, then the value there is garbage. Now during the declaration, suppose if I take initialization, is the process of giving the value during declaration. Process of giving the value to the variable, value to the variable during declaration, during declaration. So that is the So if you take the syntax, what you have to do here is type again keyword related with type name equals to value. So at the time of declaration, if you give value, so it is initialization. For example, suppose I can take int num equals to 100. So now value there is, we know the value there, which is 100. So this some area is allotted, which is of 4 bytes and 100 is stored here. Now if I simply declare don't initialize, so like what we have done here, so simply declare but not initialize. In this case, I'm just declaring no initialization, just declaration, no initialization. Sometimes the value is unknown. When it is known, when it is unknown, I'll give you later. So when you just give declaration, if you don't give value, then the value may be garbage. Garbage is the one which is useless, or we can also say it is unknown value. It is not correct to use the unknown value, so it is useless. So it is, that's why it is called as garbage, because it is useless. It is called as garbage. So during declaration, if you write the statement like this and give some value, then it is actually considered as initialization, and it will get the value. It will get the value uh, during declaration itself.